The Matrix Resurrections certainly divided opinions, didn't it? I mean, I'm one of the ones who kind of thought, yeah, it was good for some moments, bad for some moments, and I am a big Matrix fan. Let's look at the good things that I loved about The Matrix Resurrections from a fan's perspective. Welcome to Jam Punch, my name is George. They finally got a plot point of the human brain being used to power the Matrix. So this is quite a kind of deep little moment here, but if you've looked into the history of the Matrix and how it was actually made, how the script was first written, you'll learn that the whole idea of humans being used as batteries wasn't the original idea. Originally, the idea was going to be that in the storyline, the human brain was used as processing power for the big machine computer. But the Wachowskis went against that idea because they thought, or the studio thought, or someone thought, that the average audience member wouldn't get it. They chose batteries because they thought the average moviegoer would understand that better than processing power. Now, in The Matrix Resurrections, we have this one scene at the end where Sati uses Bugs' brain as a kind of temporary storage system for Trinity's brain. Now, in The Matrix Reloaded, we saw Zion for the first time. After seeing the first Matrix film, we then see Zion, and it is quite a cool moment. You know, the camera opens up and there's this big, wide, sweeping shot of these crazy tunnels that go on forever, and it makes you go, wow, how the hell have humans managed to do this? Similarly, we have that with I.O. in The Matrix Resurrections. We have this big, wide, sweeping shot that opens onto this huge kind of artificial sky thing they've created. So seeing I.O. bolsters the kind of advancement in goals of the characters, because we then see that the backstory of the entire human race's goal has changed as well. And following on from that, seeing humans' survival with growing plants and stuff. See, this is a good point in my mind because I'm a big fan of the Matrix universe in total, so I love the comics as well, I love the Animatrix. And one or two times in the kind of side stories of the comics and stuff, you see what humans are like on the surface in more detail. In The Miller's Tale, which is one of the Matrix comics, we see they have a bread festival every year. So, whilst this does overall reduce the threat of the human race being wiped out by machines, it does also kind of make you just feel happy, doesn't it? And maybe that's what they were kind of going for, is that we're going for the kind of, yeah, human race isn't suffering as much anymore. Please enjoy Neo enjoying these strawberries. We got to see the Machine City. Now again, we saw this in The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions. The difference is, there we only got to see it very sparingly. Here we linger on it a bit longer. We see these newfangled kind of pods. We see these new types of robots as well. The colours look a bit stronger, and yeah, that's partly to do with, you know, cinema technology and cameras advancing a bit in 20 years, but it's also because the filmmakers decided to spend longer there. It's less alien to us now as viewers. If they were to treat the Machine City sparingly like they did 20 years ago, it wouldn't have the same oomph as it did back then, because we've seen it now. So now they decided, let's just linger on it, let's make the red pods more red, let's make the blue lightning more blue, let's make everything a bit more extreme in the Machine City, and I loved seeing it. The backstory of the Machine Civil War. Now what the hell was this? Like, I loved hearing about this when Bug says that Neo went to one of the Machine Cities. One of the Machine Cities? There's only one Machine City, isn't there? At least that was the case in the Matrix original trilogy. Now, in these past 60 years, we're learning that there was apparently some kind of Machine Civil War. I want to know about that. Those kind of backstory questions are what keep me coming back to the Matrix universe. More human moments. The Matrix Resurrections kind of fell back into the more normal, chirpy, almost funny humanity moments of The Matrix 1. This is something I've said in a previous video as well, is that The Matrix Reloaded and The Matrix Revolutions, whilst I love them and they expanded on the whole Matrix universe so much, they completely lost their humanity. They became, like, all the characters became these kind of robots, really, in a way. Ironically, because they're, you know, humans fighting robots. But the first one, as you look back at the first Matrix film, there's comedy, there's Cypher being all kind of whiny and sassy, there's all these kind of characters that are just a bit more kind of human. This is brought back in The Matrix Resurrections. many substantial moments. We saw the back doors right at the start. For about a split second, we saw those weird green back doors in the white hallway. We saw Morpheus being an agent, and that was kind of explained. The Machine City, the Human City. We see Trinity gaining superpowers. We see the Merovingian pop up, and yes, that was a complete cheap nostalgia pop, but it was kind of cool for the 5 minutes that he was on screen, wasn't it? So really this point is that whilst the narrative didn't lend itself to having all these little kind of box-ticking things, seeing them in the moment was kind of cool. Trinity remembering Neo. This was arguably the only kind of true emotional moment of the whole film. I mean, yeah, The Matrix isn't meant to be that emotional because it's meant to be about cool kung fu fighting and philosophical questions about machines and whether we're really human and all this stuff. But this moment was excellent. At the very end of the film, we see the moment where Trinity remembers Neo. Suddenly then you realise the film is all about her. It's not about Neo. Neo is not the hero of this film. The hero of this film is Trinity. And they touch, and they kiss, and they fly, and it's a real special moment in my mind. It's something that reminds you as the viewer why they're in this war. It's about humanity, it's about love. And I just wish they expanded upon that in The Matrix Resurrections a little more. So similarly to what I said about the Machine City and the Machine Civil War, it asked a lot more questions. Like, you know, what happened to the Oracle? Bug said that she was purged. Why? And how? Like, when exactly? How did the Analyst manage to kind of replace the Architect? If there are other Machine Cities, does that mean there are other Matrixes? I mean, each city needs its own power source, right? So surely each Machine City would have its own power source and would maybe have its own Matrix. This quest for answers by questions posed within the film is what keeps me coming back to the Matrix universe. Now, we don't know if there's going to be a Matrix Part 5, however, if they do make a Matrix Part 5, we know there are many questions they could answer with that film. New thematic discussions. So arguably the main theme of the Matrix trilogy, the first trilogy, 1, 2 and 3, is the idea of determinism versus free will. That is so blatantly the main theme. Obviously there are many other themes, but that is the kind of overt theme that's discussed from the main villain, Agent Smith, versus the main hero, Neo. It's determinism versus free will. However, The Matrix Resurrections kind of mocks that. It's very self-aware, as we know, and that's one of the kind of bad points about The Matrix Resurrections really, is just how self-aware it is. And in the scene of the coffee shop, we see Neo's assistant just straight up asking him about free will and how silly it was in his game to have free will versus determinism, blah blah blah. The Analyst says, just blatantly, humans don't care about free will anymore. He says it doesn't matter whether they have free will or not, because all that matters is the feeling. All that matters is the fantasy. This is what he talks about. This is the new theme of The Matrix Resurrections. Does choice even matter anymore? That is the question that was posed, and I don't even know if it was answered. Thank you for watching that, everybody. If it was a help to you and you really liked learning about the Matrix lore, then please subscribe to Jam Punch, and I'll be releasing a brand new Matrix Explained video every single week. My name is George, this is Jam Punch, and I'll see you next time.